A lot of people think that if they recently switch jobs, they will no longer qualify for a home loan. And although it can be an issue in some cases, it's often not the deal breaker that a lot of people think it is. I've been a mortgage loan officer for over 13 years across multiple states. I've worked with buyers with a lot of different job history scenarios. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what lenders look at, what type of job changes are okay, and what type of changes might land you in trouble. And of course, there are plenty of other types of income that lenders can use, like if you own a business or if you earn Social Security or pension, things like that. But in this video, we're gonna focus on the employed borrower. So it pretty much always comes down to the most recent 2-year period. So we don't require that you've been at the same job for the last 2 years, but just that you can show a 2-year history of consistent employment. So for example, if you were at your last job for a year and now you've been at your current job for a year, that's totally fine. We just need to show a consistent pattern. And to verify this, we have to list all your specific job history on your loan application. We also need to verify your last 30 days of pay stubs, all your W-2s for the last 2 calendar years, and we also have to do an employment verification with your employer. This is where we'll send them a form to fill out, or in some cases, we can verify the information with them electronically, and it's basically just an extra layer of confirmation of your recent job history on top of all that other documentation that we need. So when we verify that job history, we need to verify the exact start and end dates of any previous jobs, and then of course, the exact start date of your current job. If you have any gaps in time over the last 2 years where you were not employed, we sometimes have to document those gaps. Specifically, if the gap is more than 3 months long, we will have to document the reason. And there's often no wrong answer to this. It might be because you had to take some time off to spend time with your kids, or maybe you got injured, or maybe you just found that you didn't like your last job and so it was not the right fit, and it took you several months to find the new job. So typically, a letter of explanation from the client will solve this. We just get the explanation from the client as to why they had that gap of employment. We add it to your file and it's usually good to go. The main thing we're looking for with these job gaps is that you're back to work full time now. Now, if you've had longer gaps, like let's say over the last 2 years, a year and a half of that you were not employed, that does become a little bit more tricky, but it's not necessarily a deal breaker. And a lot of lenders get this wrong. They'll just verify the last 2 years and they'll say, oh, you've only been to work for 6 months in the last 2 years, so unfortunately you don't qualify for a loan. But sometimes if we dig a little bit deeper, we can find that you actually would qualify. So here's an example. Let's say you've only been at your job for 6 months, and the 3 years prior to starting at your current job, you were not employed. A lender might deny you for that reason, but if I were to dig a little bit deeper, maybe I found that, well, you actually did have a job for 4 years straight before that 3-year period, but the reason you took that 3 years off is because you had a new baby and you were taking care of your young children, and now they're a little bit older and you're able to return to work because they're in daycare or whatever. So we would just basically get an explanation for that. And if we can show that you had stable employment prior to that time, then we can often put you in a loan. And there's no wrong answer really to that scenario either. Like maybe you were injured for a long period of time and now you've been back to work for several months. That could be an acceptable reason as well. As long as there's a plausible reason as to why you took that long period off of work and now you have stable employment, most lenders are going to be able to work with that. I mean, I even had one client who had stable employment for several years and they took a year and a half off, and I was like, hey, what's up with this gap in employment? And he was like, oh, I just took some time off to go backpacking in Europe. And so it was like, he just almost like didn't feel like working. But we gave an honest explanation from the client to our underwriting department as to why he took the time off. He had been working for many years and he just wanted some time off to do one thing he's always dreamed of. He got it out of his system and now he has stable employment. A common misconception is that you have to be in the same line of work for the last 2 years, but even usually that's not an issue. Most cases it's absolutely not, as long as, again, you can show consistent, stable employment for the last couple years. So for example, let's say you were a full-time mechanic for many years and you decided you just don't want to work on cars anymore, and then you got a job immediately as an office manager and you've been doing that consistently for the last year. That's going to be okay because we can show proof that you have stable, consistent income. Now, this last part is one that can cause problems for buyers and prevent them from qualifying for a home loan. And it's not about where you work, it's about how you get paid. The major disqualifiers usually come down to switching to variable income. So this is really any type of income that is not set in stone and is not scheduled. So variable income would be anything like commission, bonus, overtime, tips, anything that can change month to month. And lenders cannot use this type of income to help you qualify for a home loan unless you've received it for at least 2 years. Non-variable income would be things like annual salary. So you get that set salary for the year, that's divided by 12, and you can count on that coming in every single month. Or if you get paid by the hour, a certain hourly rate, and you're showing consistency of a certain amount of hours every single week that really doesn't vary, that would be non-variable income as well. And that's considered predictable within the loan guidelines. So if you leave a job that's straight salary only to one that's maybe commission only or really heavy on bonuses, that's where you can run into trouble. So maybe at your previous job, you made $80,000 straight salary, no bonuses, no commission, anything like that. And you went to a new job where it was in the same line of work, maybe it's even the same job, but now you make $40,000 straight salary because they're going to give you large bonuses every month. And maybe those bonuses would even exceed the income that you were earning at the last job. Like maybe your annual bonuses end up being like $60,000 a year. So with the $40,000 salary and $60,000 in bonuses, you would actually make $100,000 a year instead of the $80,000 at your previous job. But the problem is we can't use that bonus income as part of your qualifying income until you've received that income for over 2 years. So like if you left that $80,000 salary job to the $40,000 salary plus bonuses, and you wanted to qualify within that first 2 years, you could only use that $40,000 salary. So it's basically like your income's being cut in half as far as the loan guidelines go. Now here's one bonus scenario where we often don't need to verify a 2-year job history. Let's say you recently finished college or a trade school and you can show proof of the transcripts that you actually finished. We can count that time that you were in school as job history. And if you get a job, let's say, with a salary right out of college and you start the job or even get an offer letter confirming that you got the job and that you're going to get paid X amount and all that, you can often use that to qualify for a home loan right away. So to summarize, changing jobs does not necessarily negatively impact your ability to qualify for a home loan. It's just all about the income stability at that job. And if you'd like me to help you determine if you qualify for a home loan, feel free to reach out. My contact info is in the description. Or if you're just not ready for any of that yet, please consider subscribing for more tips.